He said no touching, no flirting, no feelings. But then one hotel room changed everything. The night wasn't supposed to mean anything. Maya hadn't even planned to go out. But her best friend dragged her to that rooftop bar after a long week of job interviews. She swore she'd only stay for one drink. But then she saw him. Tall, broad-shouldered. A suit that probably cost more than her rent. Worn with an ease that screamed power. He sat alone at the edge of the bar, sipping whiskey, eyes scanning the skyline like it belonged to him. She told herself she wasn't the type to flirt with strangers. Yet the moment his gaze met hers, something shifted. Heat, curiosity, a silent dare. One drink turned into two. Laughter spilled between them as easily as the cocktails. He never gave his name, and she didn't offer hers. Rules were set without saying. No numbers, no details, no strings. When his hand slid over hers, she didn't pull away. When he whispered, "Come with me," she didn't hesitate. It was wild, reckless, unforgettable. Skin on skin, lips on fire. The kind of passion that belonged to strangers who never intended to meet again. And when morning came, she slipped out before sunrise, telling herself it was perfect because it would never repeat. Except fate has a twisted sense of humor. 2 weeks later, on her first day at Sterling & Co., she walked into the boardroom, portfolio in hand, and froze. At the head of the table sat the man she should never have seduced. Her new boss. Hey dreamers. Welcome back to Blessing's Storyverse, where we don't just tell stories. We live them. Today's tale is full of mystery, love, twists. So grab your popcorn and let's dive into another episode. The man at the head of the table. Maya adjusted her blazer, palms damp with nerves. First impressions mattered, and this was the biggest opportunity of her career. She had landed an assistant strategist role at Sterling & Co., one of the most respected firms in the city. This was her chance to prove herself. She pushed open the heavy glass door to the boardroom, expecting polite smiles and professional introductions. Instead, her breath caught in her throat. There he was, Liam Sterling, CEO, her boss, and the man whose sheets she'd tangled in just 2 weeks ago. His sharp suit was different, but everything else was the same: the piercing grey eyes, the strong jaw, the air of quiet command. He looked right at her, and for one charged second, recognition flickered. But then his face hardened. His voice was cool, professional. "Everyone, this is Maya Torres, our newest hire. She'd be joining the strategy team." The room buzzed with greetings, but Maya barely heard them. Her heart thudded as she forced herself into a polite smile, introducing herself around the table. Liam didn't look at her again. It was almost worse than if he had. Terms and conditions. By the end of the week, Maya realized avoiding Liam was impossible. He assigned her directly to a major client project, which meant long hours in his office, across from his desk, pretending their history didn't exist. The air between them was heavy, tense. Every time their hands brushed while passing documents, a spark shot through her. Every time his gaze lingered too long, heat curled low in her stomach. Finally, she snapped. One late evening, after the rest of the team had gone home, she dropped her pen and looked him straight in the eye. "We're really going to pretend that night didn't happen?" Liam didn't flinch. He leaned back in his chair, hands steepled. "Yes, because it didn't." Her chest tightened. "That's ridiculous. You know it happened." His jaw flexed, but his voice stayed calm. "Listen, Maya, whatever occurred before you worked here stays there. In this office, I'm your boss. Nothing more." Her frustration bubbled over. "So we're just supposed to act like strangers?" His eyes darkened. For a moment, the mask slipped, and she saw the man who'd kissed her like she was the only woman in the world. Then he blinked, shutters slamming back into place. "There are rules," he said quietly. "Professional only. No flirting. No touching. No feelings." She wanted to laugh, to throw something, to remind him that rules rarely survive temptation. Instead, she forced a tight smile. "Fine. Rules, I can handle that." But the fire in her chest told her she wasn't so sure. The first crack. The storm hit on a Thursday night. Sheets of rain lashing against the glass walls of Sterling & Co. The office was nearly empty except for Maya and Liam, still buried in the client proposal due the next morning. Maya's hair clung to her temples, damp from her dash across the street to grab coffee. Liam's tie was loosened, the top buttons of his shirt undone. They looked less like boss and employee, more like two exhausted people stranded together. She caught him staring at her lips once, then twice. Her pulse spiked. Finally, as thunder rumbled outside, the silence snapped. "You're impossible," she muttered, shoving a draft across the desk. He raised a brow. "I'm impossible. You've argued every line of this proposal. Because you're wrong," she shot back, half smiling despite herself. Their eyes locked. Something electric hung in the air. She should have looked away. He should have kept his distance. Instead, Liam leaned across the desk. His hand brushed her cheek, tentative at first, then firmer when she didn't pull away. And then his lips were on hers. The kiss was nothing like the first time. It was harder, hungrier, charged with weeks of denial. She gasped against him, clutching his shirt, pulling him closer. For a moment, the storm outside was nothing compared to the one between them. But just as quickly, he broke away. His breathing was ragged, his hands trembling as he shoved them through his hair. This was a mistake. It won't happen again. Maya's lips still tingled. Her heart was a drumbeat in her chest. She stared at him, fury and desire warring inside her. "Keep telling yourself that," she whispered. Because deep down, they both knew this was only the beginning. Office politics. By Monday morning, whispers filled the air. Maya wasn't naive. She knew offices thrived on gossip, but lately, the looks lingered a little too long. Whispers cut off whenever she entered the break room. She caught the words "Sterling's favorite" once and her cheeks burned. Liam didn't help. In meetings, his tone with her was clipped, curt, like he was compensating. He interrupted her suggestions, dismissed her ideas, then turned around and praised them once Danielle's. The senior manager repeated them. Danielle's was the worst. A sharp smile, eyes that slid over her like she was a puzzle he already knew the answer to. "Settling in okay, Torres?" he asked one afternoon, leaning against her cubicle wall. "Fine, thank you," she said tightly. "Good," he drawled, lowering his voice. "I hear you've made quite the impression on Sterling." Her throat dried. "I've been working hard." "Oh, I'm sure you have." His smirk said more than his words. When she turned back to her computer, refusing to rise to the bait, he chuckled and strolled away. But Maya's stomach twisted. He knew. And if Daniels knew, how long before the whole office did? Coffee and confessions. The following Friday night, Maya found herself alone in the office again. The city lights glittered beyond the windows, casting reflections across the polished floor. She thought everyone had left until she heard footsteps. Liam. He carried 2 mugs of coffee and set one beside her keyboard. "You're still here." She blinked at him. "So are you." For once, his expression softened. The hard edges slipped, replaced by something almost weary. He leaned against her desk, sipping his coffee. "Do you ever stop?" She teased gently. "Not when there's too much at stake." His eyes found hers. "But you already know that, don't you?" Something in his tone made her heart squeeze. They weren't talking about work anymore. She exhaled slowly. I tried to forget that night. I thought maybe you had too. His jaw tightened, but his eyes burned. I haven't. Not for a second. The air between them crackled. Maya's pulse thundered. She leaned forward just slightly, close enough to see the flecks of silver in his eyes. Then why keep pretending? His hand twitched like he wanted to reach for her, but forced himself not to. Because you work here. Because I'm your boss. Because if anyone knew that they don't, she whispered. Not really. His silence was heavy, aching. Then, with a strained breath, he reached out, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. The touch was tender, fleeting but enough to make her shiver. I can't give you what you deserve, he murmured. Maybe I don't want perfect, she whispered back. For a moment, they lingered there, inches apart, sharing the kind of silence that felt louder than words. Then Liam pushed off the desk, retreating to the doorway. Get some rest, Maya, he said softly, voice rough, but she noticed his hands were shaking when he left. The business trip, when Sterling and Co. won a high-profile pitch in Boston. Liam announced he'd personally lead the trip. Maya was to accompany him. She told herself it was professional, necessary, nothing more, until they checked into the hotel. The receptionist's apologetic smile said it all. I'm so sorry. There was a booking error. We only have one room left. Maya's heart dropped. Liam's expression didn't flicker. We'll take it. The suite was sleek, modern and dominated by one king-sized bed. I'll sleep on the couch, he said immediately, setting his briefcase down. Don't be ridiculous, Maya replied, heat creeping into her cheeks. We're both adults. But hours later, lying stiffly on opposite sides of the bed, the distance between them felt like torture. She could feel the heat of his body, smell the faint spice of his cologne. When she shifted, their hands brushed. Neither pulled away, and then restraint shattered. Liam turned, capturing her mouth with his. It was urgent, desperate, weeks of longing breaking free. Maya clutched at him, pulling him closer, as his hands mapped every inch of her like he'd been starving for her. Clothes fell. Words blurred. It was raw, consuming, inevitable. Afterward, tangled in sheets, his arm heavy around her waist. She almost believed they could stay like this, until his phone buzzed. He reached for it, scanning the screen, and froze. Maya sat up, dread curling in her stomach. What is it? He turned the screen toward her. A photo, grainy, but clear enough. Her and Liam, walking into the hotel together. Her blood ran cold. The threat. By Monday morning, Maya knew. Daniels. He cornered her by the elevators, smug grin firmly in place. Lovely trip? Her stomach clenched. What do you want? Simple, he said, leaning close. Resign. Quietly. Before I share those pretty little pictures with the board. With the press. With anyone who'll pay. Her heart hammered. You'd ruin both our careers. Daniel's smirk widened. Only yours. Sterling will recover. Men like him always do. But you? You'll be the girl who slept her way into the CEO's office. Maya's throat burned with fury. She wanted to scream, to slap him, to make him pay. But all she could do was stand frozen as the elevator. Doors closed between them. That night, she merely typed her resignation letter. She couldn't drag Liam down with her. She couldn't be the scandal that destroyed his empire. But when Liam found her staring at her laptop, unsent letter on the screen, his face darkened. You think quitting will fix this? He asked, voice low. Dangerous. It'll protect you, she whispered. His jaw clenched, grey eyes blazing. Maya, I don't need protection. Daniels does. And for the first time, she saw not just the CE, Oh, but the ruthless man behind the empire. Lines in the sand. Daniels underestimated him. When Liam Sterling called him into his office the next morning, the room was ice cold. Maya sat in the corner, hands clenched in her lap, as Liam shut the door with deliberate calm. Care to explain these? Liam asked, sliding the printed photos across his desk. Daniels smirked. Just some interesting observations. Nothing a little arrangement couldn't fix. An arrangement? Liam repeated softly. His voice was smooth, but his eyes were deadly. You want to keep your golden boy reputation. She wants to keep her job. I want compensation. Daniels leaned back, smug. Maya's blood boiled. Before she could speak, Liam's voice cut through, sharp as glass. You think I built this company to be threatened by men like you? He rose, slow, deliberate, his presence filling the room. You cross me, Daniels, and you'll wish you hadn't. Daniels' smirk faltered for the first time. Liam leaned in, inches from his face. I don't negotiate with parasites. You try to ruin her. You try to ruin me. And I'll take everything from you. The silence that followed was suffocating. Daniels left, pale and rattled. But when the door shut, Maya turned to Liam. You shouldn't have. I should have, he interrupted, eyes burning. This isn't just about business anymore. He came after you. Her chest tightened. She wanted to argue, but instead she whispered, and if he wins? Liam's jaw set. He won't. Breaking point. The pressure built like a storm. Maya felt it in every step through the office corridors. Every hushed whisper. Every stare she couldn't quite interpret. She hated being the weakness in Liam's armor. The weapon Daniels could wield. That night, in Liam's penthouse, she finally broke. I can't do this, she said, pacing the floor. I can't be the reason everything you built comes crashing down. He stood by the window, city lights reflecting in his eyes. You're not the reason. Daniels is. But if it wasn't me, he wouldn't have this leverage. Her voice cracked. I should never have let that night happen. I should have walked away before this went too far. Liam turned, fury sparking. Don't you dare regret that night. Her breath caught. He crossed the room, cupping her face, forcing her to look at him. I've made mistakes in my life. But you? You're not one of them. Her eyes burned. Liam, I can't lose you, Maya. Not to him. Not to anyone. His voice dropped, raw and unguarded. You're more than a scandal. More than temptation. You're the one thing I didn't see coming, and the only thing I don't want to let go. Her heart ached. Tears slipped down her cheeks. You make it sound so easy. It's not, he admitted. His forehead pressed to hers. But I'd rather burn everything down than live without you. And when his lips crashed against hers, she realized. So would she. The fall of Daniels. The board meeting was brutal. Daniels strutted in with a folder under his arm, confidence radiating. Maya sat at the far end of the table, pulse racing. Liam, calm and composed, opened the session. Before we begin, I'd like to address a matter of misconduct, Liam announced. Daniel's smirk widened. By all means. What he didn't expect was the stack of documents Liam pulled from his briefcase. Over the last 3 months, Daniels has rerouted client funds into a private account, Liam said smoothly. Here's the proof. Gasps filled the room. Board members leaned forward, flipping through the evidence. Daniel's face drained of color. This is absurd, he barked. You're deflecting. Really? Liam cut in, voice like steel. Because I've already notified the authorities. They're waiting downstairs. As if on cue, 2 men in suits entered. Daniels paled further. The board erupted in whispers as Daniels was escorted out. His career in ruins. Maya sat frozen, stunned. Liam didn't look at Daniels once. His gaze never left her. And when the room finally cleared, he walked straight to her side. "It's over," he murmured. "He can't touch us now." Her chest swelled with relief, with pride, with something dangerously close to love. For the first time, they stood side by side, not as boss and employee, not as a secret, but as something real. The deal was secured. Daniels was gone. The scandal buried. Maya packed up her desk quietly one evening, unsure of what came next. Maybe she could stay. Maybe she couldn't. But before she could leave, Liam appeared in the doorway. "Going somewhere?" She smiled faintly. "I was thinking of getting some distance." He stepped closer, his gaze soft but unyielding. No more distance. No more rules. Her breath caught. He took her hand, threading his fingers through hers. "You shouldn't have seduced me, Maya. But the truth is," his lips curved into a rare smile, "I've been yours since that night." Her heart flipped. Slowly, she leaned in, pressing her lips to his. Some scandals, some risks, some loves were worth everything. And that's another episode from Blessing's Storyverse. If this story hit you in the feels, leave a like. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, because trust me, the next plot twist is even crazier. Until next time, keep living like the main character. Bye.